Well, what a dominating win we saw from Ireland
Not
over the
just a
West
win,
Indies.
not
It was
just
a
a, it was a
hammering.
thrashing.
It's a hammering of the highest order.
Yep. So the breaking news is that the West Indies,
Are out.
two-time World T20 champions, the only team to win this tournament two times.
And four-time world champions overall if you count the ODI World
ODI,
Cup wins.
five times if you want to count the Champions Trophy
They
as
are
well.
out of the T20 World Cup. Out. Finished. Tata. Goodbye.
Finish. Tata, bye bye, see you. Remember, 2021, they were at least there in the Super 12s, where they managed to win only one game, if I am not mistaken. They lost to Australia, they lost to England, they lost to South Africa, they won against Bangladesh, but lost to Sri Lanka as well. So, massive disappointment for the West Indies, and it continues. Ireland, on the other hand, continue their dominance
What a
against
win
the
that
Windies.
was. It was amazing. And okay, after that first innings, which to be fair, I'll quickly sum up, wasn't the greatest innings. In fact, if you're a West Indies fan, everyone was getting starts, and except for Brandon King, no one managed to make a decent score. And it's also worth noting that even Brandon King, 62, came off 48 deliveries because he was losing partners left, right, center. Couldn't accelerate as much as he would have probably wanted to. So in that sense, but if you read the other scores, Kyle Mayers won. Johnson Charles had a good start, by the way. Ended up getting out to a spinner, which seems to be a bit of a weakness of his. Early in the match, he tends to be a little weak against spin. He was going solid guns in the beginning, 24 of 18, but ended up getting out. Besides that, you have Nicholas Puran, the skipper, who, by the way, there's going to be a lot of scrutiny on now because of the kind of campaign that he's overseen. Robman Paul got 6. Odean Smith actually added a ton of respectability to that total towards the end. His 19 runs of 12 balls, which included 2 sixes, actually helped get West Indies to 146 for 5. But looking at that total, you always knew that it was going to be tough.
Yes, and especially looking at it, Ireland, in the previous game, they stayed in the competition because of the way how they chased. Here, the Irish batsmen just killed it in the power play. 6 overs for 64. Especially Andrew Balbirnie scoring heavily. And Paul Sterling, the
Batted through.
yeah,
Very clever.
the veteran, as always, showing 7th World Cup for Paul Sterling, and he shows why he is one of the best in the business so far.
And to be fair, once Balbirnie got dismissed, you knew for a fact that Ireland would take it easy because for two reasons. One, if you're talking about net run rate, they had the worst. But net run rate doesn't really count here because if both matches get played out, two teams will have 4 points and both of those teams will qualify for the World Cup. It's that
Yeah,
simple.
remember, Ireland have qualified, but whether they are in India's group
We don't
remains
know
to be
that,
seen
yeah.
after the Zimbabwe-Scotland game.
Yes, exactly. Because as things stand, of course, they've qualified and they are top of the table. But you don't forget that if Scotland end up winning, or whoever wins really, will probably have, because remember, Ireland had the worst net run rate. So whichever of these teams wins will most likely have a better net run rate. But again, we don't know that for sure until the second match takes place. So there's no point speculating.
Yep. The best net run rate in this whole group is
Actually,
Scotland.
Scotland's. Theirs is a positive net run rate, 0.7 odd.
And
it's a very good net run rate.
Zimbabwe are 0.000, even net run rate. So
Again, if Zimbabwe win also, they will most likely, I think, be ahead.
yeah,
Let me just
so simple. If Zimbabwe win, then they will top B1 because of a better net run rate.
Same with Scotland for that matter.
Yeah, so that B1 will go into India's group.
Correct.
B2, on the other hand, will be in the other group, which I believe is looking far more difficult now.
Yeah.
Australia, England, New Zealand, Afghanistan, Sri Lanka. And now with the entry of either Zimbabwe or you may say Ireland, really makes that group interesting. And actually, if I have to echo Raj Das Gupta Singh, kind of an easy group for India. Because remember, had Namibia won against the UAE, then Sri Lanka would have been in India's group and Namibia would have gone into that group.
Correct.
But because Namibia lost to the UAE, Sri Lanka go into that group 1 that is, and Netherlands, somehow, some way, make it to the Super 12s of the T20 World Cup. The celebrations that they had after the Namibia lost was simply magnificent. And I read now, I think UAE nationals are going to get lifetime Dutch Schengen visas forever. That is going to happen probably. So, and yeah, I mean, it was a chaotic build-up for the West Indies. I mean, Shimron Hetmeyer missed the
was
flight.
picked. He ended up missing 2 flights. Then he quite literally missed the flight because despite being named in the squad, got dropped because they saw it as a disciplinary breach. So they said, look, never mind, you're out.
And the worst part is West Indies and the record in Australia. Remember, if you look at all formats, from 2010 onwards, they have won only one game, and that was the T20 in 2013. Ever since then, be it World Cups, be it ODIs, be it Tests, they have never won a match in Australia. In 2015, the games that they won were in New Zealand, not in Australia. And it continues. Prior to this T20 World Cup, they lost 2-0 to Australia.
Right.
And now Nicholas Puran, I mean, what can you say? He didn't have the services of Kyron Pollard, who retired from international cricket. Dwayne Bravo, Chris Gale, they all bid adieu to the international format. Although Gale hasn't announced
Gale
it
hasn't
yet.
officially retired, but again, he was probably most likely going to be unavailable.
Yep.
Don't forget also no Narayan, no Russell.
Blame the KKR duo for not being there in the West Indies team.
Yeah, but then they're not centrally contracted players.
Absolutely.
They have no obligation, let's say.
So we all thought that in 1995 when West Indies lost the Test series, it was a downhill slide for them.
And it's been a downhill slide for 20 odd years now.
And now, having lost in the qualifiers of the T20 World Cup, massive questions will be raised as to how viable their T20 blueprint is, whether the CPL is one of the best leagues that is there, whether it promotes talent. All those questions will be raised big time.
The CPL is a decent league, but again, how much talent is it contributing to West Indian cricket? The only player who's actually done well there and has come through would be a Robin Paul.
Yep, absolutely.
That's
So,
it.
I mean, look, Sahil Pawar, Meet Soni, I'll just say one more thing, okay? If Zimbabwe win, okay, they will be B1 and Ireland will be B2. Simple, then Zimbabwe come into our group, which is Group 2. Ireland go into the other group, which is Australia, New Zealand, England is Group 1. So that is the latest that we have in this qualifier. One more qualifying game to go before the first game of the T20 World Cup, which is tomorrow, Australia versus New Zealand at the Sydney Cricket Ground. But rain threat looms there as well. And remember, West Indies now heading into this T20 World Cup, lot of questions. They have only 2 more years before they prepare for the 2024 World T20, which will be held there.
Yeah, and don't forget, you have 2023 as well. So if you're, if their T20 team is in tatters, their ODI team is not going to be far behind.
Yep, and Ireland, yet again, they had won a bilateral series in the West Indies after a very long time. And here, as they did in 2015, defeated them in the World Cup. Here, they defeated them in the World T20 as well. Not good signs for West Indies cricket, folks, and lot of questions.
A lot of questions, a lot of introspection that the West Indies Cricket Board needs to do to actually avoid this, because again, West Indies are a legacy team in the sport. Them not being part of the World Cup seems weird, but again, considering the format of the qualifiers, there was always a risk, and that's exactly what happened. Anyway, thank you all guys so much for joining us for this update. It was actually a very fascinating match to watch. Hope you guys enjoyed our chat as well. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, leave us a comment, tap the bell icon, and of course follow us on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram too. Bye-bye for now. We'll see you through the day with more updates from the World Cup.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.